Town Commission meeting of March the 14th, 2023. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Mayor Tom Peck,
Here.
Vice Mayor Kurzman,
Yes.
Commissioner Campo? Here. Commissioner Fender?
Here.
Commissioner Mayfield?
Here.
She is here.
Okay, we have a proclamation this evening, the Irish American Heritage Month proclamation. Town clerk, please read it.
Whereas by 1776, nearly 300,000 Irish nationals had emigrated to the American colonies and played a crucial role in America's war for independence. 5 signers of the Declaration of Independence were Irish descent, and 3 signers were Irish born.
On behalf of all of the Irish Americans in Martin County, Sewalls Point, and the state of Florida, we received a proclamation from, plus 73 other municipalities like yours. So we truly appreciate the people appreciating the Irish in the state of Florida. Thank you very much.
I think one of those goes back to April. I think it's. Oh,
Oh, no, there's only one there. Or is there?
Yeah, the other one?
The one on the top should go on.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, the one in the top stays.
I'm a rookie.
You're doing good, you're doing good. Thank you.
Okay, next item is public comment, and I have one public comment, Frank Dickus.
Good evening, Mayor Tompeck and Commissioners. My name is Frank Titicus, live at 12 Crane's Nest. Please be advised that signatures will be collected to amend the charter of the town of Sewalls Point. The amendment proposed will alter section 2-262A1, Code of Ordinances, and become effective immediately after a successful vote on the measure. The purpose of the petition is to put the question before the voters of the town of Sewalls Point as to whether the vote should have a voice before the town incurs debt, have taxes raised greater than the CPI, or have a special assessment levied on the residents for town projects. If approved by the voters, section 2-262 will read as follows. Town Commission approval required, unless otherwise authorized herein, no purchases or contract, regardless of price, shall be made in excess of the budget appropriations for the current budget year without prior approval of the Town Commission. All contracts for real property and contracts involving exclusive rights, regardless of price, shall require Town Commission approval, except that any expenditure that will cause the town to incur debt, to require a special assessment, to cause a tax rate increase greater than the trailing 12 months consumer price index, or to establish special taxing units, must be put to a referendum vote at a special election and must be approved by 55% of the votes cast. Expenditures caused by federally declared natural disasters are exempted. This amendment shall become effective immediately. Unfortunately, this action is being triggered due to the fact that the Town Commission had promised to put the question of installing sewers to the voters and then reneged. In addition, the Town Commissioners ran on not raising taxes and then passed the largest tax increase in the town's history. The Commissioners have publicly stated that there will be no special assessments. If that's the case, the petition should garner your support. I have requested Mr. Torsivia, counsel for the town of Sewalls Point, to review the proposed amendment as to form and as to the appropriate location in the town charter. This was done based on advice from the Supervisor of Elections. However, I was notified by Mr. Daniels that Mr. Torsivi has declined to do so and cited that he works for you, the commissioners, and not the citizens. I would appreciate it if the town would direct Mr. Torsivi to respond to my request. It's also my understanding that the town commission will name the petition and that this may not exceed 15 words. When the language has been developed, I would appreciate notification and a copy of the language. Thank you for your anticipated cooperation. And I kept it under 3 minutes. And I have a letter for each one of you that basically is what I stated. And I also have the petition, and if you could provide that to the commissioners, and I would appreciate your support. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Frank.
Okay, any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda?
Move we approved as written.
Second?
Please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Kurzman?
Yes.
Commissioner Campo?
Aye.
Commissioner Fender?
Aye.
Commissioner Mayfield?
yes,
Mayor Tompeck?
Yes. That brings us to the consent agenda. Motion to approve or
So moved.
Second?
please call the roll.
Commissioner Campo?
Aye.
Commissioner Fender?
Aye.
Commissioner Mayfield?
yes,
Mayor Tompeck?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kurzman?
Yes.
All right, we have no public hearings, ordinances, first or second reading, no resolutions. That brings us to item 10A, old business. First item is DEP Resilient Florida Program fiscal year 2022-2023 implementation grant, notice of award. Mr. Daniels.
Yes, sir, Mayor and Commissioners. As we talked about at the last meeting, we did get the award notice, and there is required paperwork that I have to sign and send in to let them know that we do want to receive the award of $8.4 million for the septic to sewer plan. So that's what, you've actually seen two sets. You saw the blank forms, and then we got the recorded forms out to you, I think, within a day or two after the agenda was published. So I'm ready to answer any questions you might have.
Commissioner Campo.
I move we approve staff's recommendation.
I second.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Fender?
Aye.
Commissioner Mayfield?
yes,
Mayor Tompeck?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kurzman?
No.
Commissioner Campo?
Aye.
Okay, the second is kind of a corollary, and that's the next item is kind of a corollary to this one we just had, and it's to authorize the town manager to sign grant acceptance documents.
Yeah, just to refresh everybody's memory, the grant that we had, the $2.9 million grant that we got from Florida Department of Environmental Protection for Phase 2, you all had approved that at the last meeting, and I haven't signed the documents as yet, but I'm planning on doing that. But I wanted to let you know that that and also the acceptance actually includes my signature, which wasn't in the original agenda that went out. So just to make sure that we're being transparent, I just wanted to make sure that I had your authority to sign the document that you just approved.
Vice Mayor Griffin.
Yes, I did speak with some of the county commissioners. I spoke to 3 out of the 5. I also spoke to Sam Emerson regarding the septic to sewer conversion. I spoke first to Congressman Smith. He said he would not override the plans that Martin County Utility has in place for the grinders. 337 is what Sam Emerson has said he'll limit us to, so we can't go, because when septic tank, somebody's septic bills are up to 337, they want, it's not gonna be 338, it's 337. And so that's being back after I did speak with Sam Emerson. So I spoke to him after I spoke to Congressman Smith, and he says there'll be no exceptions. So I said, what happens if you go down, I just picked a random road, I said Ridgeland Road, and you have house number 7, and 1100, number 9 fails, and you're at 337, can number 9 get it? He said, absolutely not. They'll have to go to the county and get a permit to get a new septic tank. So I found that kind of interesting. Then, I asked a lot of questions, what happens here forward? So in other words, if you're somebody that doesn't want to hook up to sewer, and we hit that 337, your septic fails, the way I got the communication previously, I remember saying, you do not have to hook up, but if you're somebody that does want to hook up to the sewer, and because it's not in your area, there's already the 337 hookups, you basically cannot hook up, even if you want to. So that was explained, and I did speak to Commissioner Hurd. She also supports Sam Emerson. She refers to him as an expert in the field, and she trusts his decisions. I spoke with Commissioner Campy, and, he said they'll try and ask him to go a few more higher, but he seemed very firm when he did speak to him. He says another commissioner has contacted him and from Sewalls Point, and at that point, he did mention it to Sam, and Sam's flat out said no, there's no movement on that. So, pretty much what's going to happen is one of two things. The only way you're going to get more sewers in here is if we have to apply, and that would be through vacuum and gravity systems. There's going to be no more grinders. So that's the only way that would probably happen is if it probably became mandatory by the state. One of the things I know that's out there is home rule. Home rule is now changing. So if the state decides to mandate it, they could. And I don't know how far they're going to push it. And I'm kind of surprised if they take away home rule. That's something that I know the towns have fought long hard about, is the county. And I know the county's very disappointed. But that's the message that I wanted to relay, what's happening. I went up to the next level. It's pretty much you're going to be part of the 337, or you're not. And I'm sure there's going to be 337 people that do want to hook up, and I'm sure there's going to be a couple hundred that don't want to hook up. And I think it will work out on all ends for those who don't want to. It may not for those if there are more people that want in the future.
Mr. Davis?
Yes, just, again, just a point of clarification, because I'm not sure that the information that was relayed to you is actually correct. I have spoken with the health department, and if there's a sewer in front of your house that you can connect to, you have to connect to the sewer. They will not issue you a permit to put in a new septic tank. So where that puts them when we're at 337 or not, I don't know. But the county health department, which is run by FDEP now, is the one that makes that decision, and they've already made that determination. Another issue that I found out today, just, and all I'm asking for is the opportunity to sign the grant. That's, kind of where we're at, but I think we're kind of in the discussion of B instead. But I did speak today to the health department, and Mr. It's not Noah, Nick Crafton, or Crifton. And anyhow, I spoke with him today, and he said that they've had no complaints in reference to the grinder systems that are already in place in Stewart and already in place in the county. He said, there's only minimum maintenance issues that they've had. Again, I'm just relaying information to you, and, it's a determination that you all have to make, but I hope that you'll let me sign the documents to accept the grant, because either way, we need the money to build the system.
Commissioner Fender?
I was just going to say, thanks, Dave. I'm super appreciative of you doing this research and certainly talking to the commissioners. I've been doing this a while, and what I noticed in the explanation you gave is sort of a snapshot in time. In the time that I've been doing this, I realize that everything's a continuum. It may be true, and by the way, Sam Emerson's a super sharp guy, massive respect for him, and he's come here and presented to us, so I know Sam is super in favor of septic to sewer conversion. He spent most of his career working on that aspect. So I would imagine this decision is not about you can't go over 337 or whatever the number was. I think the issue is, what can you do right now? And right now, you might be able to do 337, but I bet if you came back to him after the 337 was done and asked for more, then we'd start the process of discussion of how do we get more, because that's where we are now. At some point, we did the north side, and now we're doing the south side, and this is the chunk that we're biting off. We don't eat an elephant all at once, we eat it a bite at a time, right? So I think part of our discussion is that we've been given a grant of $8.4 million, which is probably a sizable statement from someone that this initiative is important to the state and to the environment, and they want us to move forward. We would like to do it all at once because that's a significant amount of money that we can apply simultaneously and get some economy of scale out of. But if we have to break it up into parts, so be it, that's fine. The other side is, for $8.4 million, maybe we get the whole thing for free, right? I mean, it's a massive grant that I certainly will vote in favor of allowing the town manager to continue moving it down that path. But the statement is clear to me that you can get tied up in the nuance of it, but even if the commissioners believe what they believe at the county level, they also know the direction that they as a commission have been working for several years as well. So I don't actually feel like they're going to be a roadblock in us moving forward, whether it's a small chunk or the whole chunk. And to me, it doesn't matter which one we do.
There was one important part that I did leave out. I asked him, why 337? He goes, because we can't support it. He goes, what happens is if we have...
We can't support it today.
That's correct.
Okay.
It'd probably be today,
Yeah.
but he didn't say today, tomorrow, or anything else. He goes, what happens...
He didn't say ever, though, either.
No, he said, as of right now, he can't support it. We leave it at that.
Okay.
And he goes, we just don't have the manpower. He goes, right now with Stewart, he says, they're having issues. You know, if you have a power outage, it's not a good thing. There's too many grinders. He goes, right now, he really is in favor of the vacuum as well as gravity. And he goes, in the future, if we do anything, it's going to be hybrid. And that's where he wants to push it. But his problem was being able to support it. And, you know, right now, they're not equipped to support it. And that's what he's worried about, especially if there's a power outage. Means you have to come in, they have to, you know, he goes, even with the little generators, they're not going to start, he said. He goes, that's very realistic, it does miss at the same thing. He goes, you're going to have to go in, and those little generators are going to work, so that means somebody's going to have to come in and pump out all the north Sewalls, all of the south Sewalls, and it's not possible. And he goes, we have more grinders. That's
Not possible?
Well, that's what I'm going about. I'm not the guy, I'm just
Yeah,
messaging.
okay, all right.
But that's those are his words, not mine. So,
I think, Frank, you hit it on the nail on the head there when you're talking about a continuum here. You know, certainly if you ask them right now, they're going to be hard-nosed about it and say no more than 337 connections. At the same time, when we get to the point where we're looking for more than that, it's probably a couple of years down the road, we'll have all the main infrastructure already in, and that's a big piece of this. And I can't believe that they would turn down customers when the infrastructure is there. It makes no sense. If they need to put some more people on staff, well, they can do that. They're going to be getting more revenue and put more people on staff. So I really think this is going to evolve the right way, and the fact that we have the 8.4 million really gives us a leg up to get the infrastructure in and get them to agree to this. I think they will eventually. It may be, there's nothing, it's a policy. 337 is just a policy number. It's not based on any math or anything like that. And, you know, I've been over and talked to Sam a couple of times, and they've had tremendous success with the grinder system they use. The E1 pump is proven to be a very stout pump. They thought they were going to replace it after 6-7 years. It's lasting 10 or 11 years. There's not a whole lot of maintenance here. So I'm gassed that we're still having a conversation, to be honest with you. But I think we're going to get there, and they'll hook the whole thing up eventually. That's my opinion.
Not to belabor the point, but I'll make the motion to allow the town manager to sign the grants and continue moving the process forward.
Here we have a motion, a second?
Yeah, I'm confused on the item. The item on the agenda, we've already passed a motion to pass the paperwork on 10A. 10B was to have staff recommend approval to expand the septic to sewer conversion program. Had nothing to do with signing paperwork, did it?
I just wanted to make sure that we included the fact that I'm signing the paperwork. I think when the original agenda went
That's
out.
what 10A is, right, though?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so I'm a little bit confused as to, and then I also wanted to give Commissioner Mayfield an opportunity to speak, because I know this is a topic that she's interested in.
Commissioner?
Yes, no, I've been listening. I know it's very difficult to talk via telephone and on your end, listen to me via telephone, so I'm going to be doing mostly listening, but from what I've heard, I agree that it was a little confusing what we're voting on, so I appreciate that clarification, Commissioner Campo, and in terms of topic, I am in line with the mayor and Commissioner Fender that hopefully by the time we keep moving along, it will make sense to, on the county's part, to agree to allow hookups for grinders for everybody. And so let's just keep doing what we can, whatever's in front of us. So, that's it.
All right, so I still have a motion. We have a second?
I'm sorry, can you say what the motion was?
My motion is, before you clarified that maybe it's confusing, is that I understood the request to grant the town manager the ability to sign the grant. Is that,
Yes,
so?
To sign the
that's really-
paperwork that we have on hand.
correct.
Right,
For
okay.
the 8.4
That's my
million.
motion.
Yeah,
Sure.
okay, well, I think it's duplicative, but I'll second that.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Mayfield?
Yes.
Mayor Tompeck?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kurzman?
No.
Commissioner Campo?
Aye.
Commissioner Fender?
Aye.
All right, so that brings us to 10B, request to expand the septic to sewer conversion program. Mr. Daniels.
Yes, obviously, having the money and looking at that, and from what I hear, is some type of a consensus that, if we deal with the first part of it is the 337, which is what we're authorized to go with, that we can get a affirmative vote and hopefully unified. And I can understand everybody's point of view, and and that's great. That's what I was looking for, was some direction as to where you wanted to go from here.
Any discussion? I mean, I think this is certainly a logical extension of what we've been talking about. And if we have the money, we can certainly go ahead and, expand the project, improve all the homes and stuff. So
Maybe just clarify, or maybe have the town engineer clarify how this is different than why this is a change, or what it is that we're actually specifically expanding from and to.
Let me try to explain for you, if I may. We're right now, I'm authorized to have 148 connections. That's going in the line with the Phase 3 resiliency project that we have, and that's taking the low-pressure force main from across the street at Harbor Bay Plaza down to just short of Pineapple Lane. And so right now, that's where I'm at. Now that we have additional funds, because part of the criteria was I need to make sure that, we had grant funding in place. Obviously, we have that now, and we can, as was already mentioned, there's enough money in there to do all of the connections, but we're not authorized by the county to do that. So what I'm hearing from the commission, and, and I support your decision, whatever you do. I'm the worker bee here, and I got to make sure that we get done what you set out as a policy for me to follow. Unlike the county, where I think the tail is wagging the dog, but that's just my personal opinion. But I think we need to look at what we can get, and I'm willing, if that's what you all want, if you put it in the form of a motion and direct me, I will make sure that we can do what we need to do to move forward.
And I was trying to remember, Joe, which option is, do you remember, would this be 1C or 1B, or, I don't have the book in front of me. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, it's option 1.
Actually, it'd be option 2 if we don't get the authority to go further than the 337, which would mean we'd be actually in the, we'd have to look at doing the gravity, if that's the case, down the road.
Right, but I think what you're asking for permission to do is go from the 148 to 337,
That's why.
which would be low-pressure system in the low-lying areas, and that would put the line down South Sewalls Point Road all the way to High Point and all of High Point, as well as Island Road, Samara Street. Those are the low-lying areas that are in the 337 area in general, okay? Those are the general areas. We could go into some more areas of Homewood and finish Homewood, and we can also finish Rio Vista, if you'd like to do that. But those are the areas that are designated on the map for the 337. We looked at basically just trying to make sure where we thought we'd have a tough time getting gravity mains in places and tear up too many streets, and that's how we came up with the 337 location. But also we made an effort to hit the low-lying areas where typically we have failures of drain fields.
Sorry.
All right, so that's good. So I understand that we're at 148 now. The request is to go to 337 because that's what we're authorized to go to. What I also understood in the context of the conversation was that the grant was enough to do more if we wanted to do more. So now my question is, since we don't seem to have the authorization to do more, what happens to the remainder of the grant?
Buy down the connection fee.
I don't know. That's awesome.
Actually, I'll answer that question. The grant is for 706 connections. That's what the grant is for. So obviously, we would have to work with FDEP and say that, we're authorized we're limited on what we can do now by the county because they're the ones that control the utilities. So hopefully they will work with us, and if it ends up that that's the dead set maximum amount we can get, we're going to need money to go into the gravity system. That's another $10 million is what we're going to need to raise. So obviously, whatever money that we have left over from the 337 is going to go in to defray that $10 million cost. We also have other grant applications out there that we haven't heard from as yet. So my hope would be that we'd be able to make up a good portion of that through future grants. Now, I don't want to, take away from your thunder, but
Everything you said is correct. The fact of the matter is we have various options. Remember, the number to put all low-pressure force mains out there was 14 million. We have 8.4 million, and that 14 million included the 8 to 12,000 that a person goes to pay when they go to Martin County Utilities. So we kind of have various options. We could take some of that extra money to pay that portion of that fee that that the residents goes to Martin County Utilities and pays for the service to the house. You can use it in that category. You could use it in extending some gravity mains. So you could decide, well, we'll do 1 or 2 subdivisions. So you could do you could do that with it. Essentially you could at least, we have some time to spend the 8.4 million. Yeah, they would like it sooner than later.
How long?
Well, I think it's usually about a 5-year grant, I think, typically. And what they're asking us to show is, just so you know, that it mentions a match, but the match is really the money we're getting from the resident. So, again, the we, 8 to 12 million, so we really don't have a match.
1,000.
Yeah, 1,000, yeah,
Yeah.
per household. So like I said, we can go to more, we can go to the 337, we can go to gravity, we can basically pay more of the personal connection fee. So there's different options you have. I don't think you need to make a decision on that yet. But even if we did all of the 706 properties, we would have enough money to pay for some of the personal connection fee.
Okay.
Is what I'm saying. So, because we predicted that number would be under 14, around 14 million. So we have quite a bit of, we do have some leeway in this.
Vice Mayor Griffin?
Yeah, Riverview, one of the streets that's included in the plan to get the sources, I know they're in desperate need over there. If we're going to wind up doing it, they definitely use it more than most anybody else these days.
They'd be in the 337, but not the 147.
Yeah, they're not in the 148, but they would be in, they would be in the 337. We could go up the road. We wouldn't necessarily go up the whole road, but we can go up the road. And again, that's up to you, you know. We came up with a map where we think the best location for 337, if all we did was the low-lying areas. And that area is that area too. That area, it covers that, Riverview, so that is in there.
Commissioner Bender?
Well, I heard you say that the grant was for 706, so that would imply to me that we have to do the 706 or we have to give some of that grant back, right?
Correct.
Okay, and,
That's why before we start, in my opinion, I differ a little bit from Joe, but before we start talking about being able to defray other costs,
Yeah.
we have to have a dialogue with, FDEP and making sure that, we've got to be transparent. It is what it is. We don't control the utility. That's controlled by the county, or the utilities director, I guess, is in control.
Okay.
So I think, we just need to be open and honest with them. So we, depending on where we are at the end of 337,
Yeah.
that's where we need to have some dialogue with them and saying, okay, this is the next group. They already know we're doing 148. And
5 years is a long time, so, I mean,
Well,
there's plenty of time to have
hopefully-
that conversation.
hopefully it's not going to be 5 years, but,
I agree,
but yes.
I mean, this is just to the point of, can't do it today, the conversation we had earlier.
Part of the reason we have the grant is because it's shovel-ready,
Yeah.
so.
The other aspect of this is to Commissioner Campo's point of buying down the buy-in. And I keep hearing you say 8 to 12, and I keep focusing on the 8, and so the closer we can get to 8, the better, so. But, and also, the other part of it is that I understand the 8 to 12 is to, and there I did it, the 8 is to pay the matching part of this grant, right?
Well, it's money that's coming from our residents, so we're allowed to use it as a match. But the county is the one that actually sets that rate.
Okay.
So, even though we're doing all this, putting together this whole plan and doing the infrastructure, the county retains that control. So they decide how much it has to be paid for connection. Currently, that number's 8,000.
Okay.
Depending on where we are
That's the number
3
I
years
like.
from now. Pardon me?
That's the number I like.
Well, we all think we like that number too, but I also have to be a realist. Things change over a period of time.
Of course.
And, I just want to make sure that, again, I want to tell you the whole story. Maybe it's not the story you want to hear, but it just, we just need to be careful and, we get the proper approvals. If we can lower that rate, I'm all for lowering the expense that our residents have, but we just got to jump through some hoops.
Okay, thanks. Where does that leave us?
Leaves us, motion.
Yes.
Would you like to make a motion?
I can't, actually, I don't know how to make the motion. What-
And again, just since Kaya's not here, does she want to jump in at this point? Because I know that she's interested in this topic.
Commissioner Mayfield?
Yes, I've been listening to it all, and it all makes sense. I'm on board, and just keep moving forward with what we can, and planning for the changes in the future. So I appreciate listening to all this, and I'm thankful you guys let me call in.
what is the possible motion to be
The
made?
motion is to accept the staff's recommendation for approval to expand the septic to sewer conversion program as the full funding is in place.
I'll make that motion to expand the septic to sewer conversion program as the full funding is in place.
Motion second.
I'll second.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
So discussion,
Oh, I'm sorry.
what does expand mean? Is there going to be a number?
Well, it would be at least from 148 to 337.
This would be mandatory.
No, it's never been mandatory. Within the, we're talking all, this whole conversation in the context of the grant that was been given, right? So, and nothing has changed from what we've talked about for months on end.
Well,
So,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to try to help here. I understand, I need a concrete number for where we want to go now, okay? And then I think what you're trying to say, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but what I'm hearing is maybe we still want to hopefully get to the 706 connections, but right now we realize the limitations we have, and, you're authorizing me to go with the 337. So
I'm authorizing you to expand the septic to sewer conversion program within the confines of the grant, right?
Okay.
That's my motion anyway. Does that help?
Yes.
Yeah, it helps.
Go ahead with seconds. You can.
So when you take, I think to capitalize on what Dave was saying, in order to accomplish the 337, that moves us from option 1 on the original plan to option 2, which includes low pressure and grinder and requires a mandatory special assessment. So it's a little,
Where do you see that?
this is a little bit of a Rubik's Cube
I guess I
between
want to see the diagram because I see the
page
visualization.
19.
He's correct. It does basically show that you need another $10 million, which we do not have in this grant. That's why we need to make it where you didn't have mandatory, but you could have enough money to hook up gravities.
So what you're saying is I need to be more specific in my motion, which I guess is to take us from 148 to 337, which is all force main.
Right.
So, and we can decide later what to do with the remainder of the grant. Does that work for you?
Yes. Is that okay with you, Kaya?
Yes, I heard Commissioner Fender say the motion is to go to 337 and then decide at that point what to do with the remainder of the grant, and that is what I second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
I think I could get on board with that, but I might say before we go that route, that we direct the mayor and the town manager to meet with the utility director and administrator and ask them to acquiesce with that option rather than, I think, out of respect, I think that would be a little bit more palatable to our partners.
Sure. Well, I believe the looseness of my motion includes that. This just says expand the septic sewer program within the confines of the grant processing, which I would assume also includes doing the proper collaboration with all the municipalities and administrators involved. And I don't think this implies that they would do anything that was not doable. And it would not be doable if they didn't do what you just said, which was an excellent point.
Right, so once it crosses the line of mandatory and an extra $10 million, I think this commission needs to look at that again for another vote.
I don't think I've ever supported anything other than non-mandatory, right?
Commissioner Mayfield spoke up. Can you repeat that, Commissioner?
I
Oh, I
think
just said yes.
she agreed.
That was disagreement. Sorry.
No, I just wanted to make sure they heard you.
Well, I just want to make sure I'm clear to Commissioner Campo's point, which is valid, is that I don't think we're saying anything beyond what you should be able to get on board with and what I would hope any rational person would agree to.
I don't know how that translates into what April types up.
Well, you'll be able to amend the minutes then. How about that?
No, I'd rather do that beforehand.
All right.
But
Yeah.
I think we can work through something, so I'm not.
Well,
like-
I'm okay with
Yeah.
you wording the motion. I don't need to word the motion. I'll jump on board with what you can make happen.
Dave?
Yeah, I'm still very confused because I'm being told one thing by your utility director, then our town manager's being told something else by the health department. It's hard to vote yes for something without having anything to defend.
Well, let me
But-
simplify it for you. let me ask it, simplified in form of questions. What do you believe is not doable here? I mean,
It's not that it's not doable, it's, in other words, I just want a clarification.
what makes you believe that they won't, they've already put in some septic sewer systems already. What makes you believe they won't continue to put in septic sewer conversion?
It's
Systems.
It's not that, we're talking about how many. In other words, I'm just being told by our utility.
Doesn't matter how many. If it's 148, or 337, the point is you're moving it forward, right?
Yeah, but in other words, but we're also talking about, he mentioned to me, at 337, it's not gonna be 338, it's gonna be 337.
So what? Why does that matter?
Because we're being told something else by a health director, eventually as anybody fails.
What
to get
else?
pipes, well, what our town manager was told by the health director, he's being told one thing, not being told another. And that's, I just want clarification.
I think you're both being told the same thing, which is,
No, we're not.
I listened to both of your statements, and I don't see any discrepancy in the process.
I think you're both being told the same thing, too.
Yeah,
Bottom line is if you have a septic tank failure and there's sewer available, you have to hook it.
There you go. It seems pretty simple.
If no sewer is available, you can put in a new septic
Yeah,
tank. That's simple.
I think the difference is if the pipe stops 100 feet down the road and your tank is 2 lots away, and you say, you say to the county, can we make that 337, 339? In your
Yeah, they would
scenario,
say
Dave,
no.
they would say no. But if the pipe is right in front of your curb, they will say yes, because they anticipated that in the 337.
That
So
seems logically
they're not
clear.
going to want to expand it beyond that.
Okay.
But if it's
Today,
right, does that make sense, Dave?
It might have been what he said, it might
Yeah.
have taken him out of context, so that's a possibility, but I still want to get more clarification, so I understand if what I thought originally, like I said, if number 9 is there, 11 fails, and 13 is hooked up, I hope I misinterpreted, maybe I did, but if that's the case, I was told the one in the middle could not hook up. And so
the
that's
one
why-
in the middle.
Yeah, in other words, if 9's hooked up, 11 is not hooked up, 13's hooked up, 11 fails.
Does he have sewer in front, does he have a system in front of his house?
I was told if they already have 337, he cannot hook up.
It's not really about the number, it's about where the system exists. If the system exists in front of his house, he can hook up. If it doesn't, he can't. I mean, that seems pretty clear to me.
The Department of Health has to either get them hooked up or they have to give them a permit for a septic tank.
Yeah.
New septic tank, that's all. There's only 2 choices
Yeah.
there.
If I may, they're not going to run a line in front of somebody's house that doesn't have a lateral to connect. So in that scenario, it would never really occur. It's not like if somebody doesn't use the connection, somebody else can use that connection. No, we have to put in laterals. So technically, when we do 148 connections, it's 148 laterals. So whether people connect all 148 or whether they don't, it doesn't matter. That's what we're allotted is 148 laterals. The same thing with 337. If, we go to 337, which is the direction I think I'm getting with the motion, is we have 337 laterals.
Okay.
And whether
this is-
somebody connects to those laterals or all, that's what we're left with.
So the scenario might be that the system's fully in place, we've used all 337 laterals, and the system does exist in front of someone's house, and they won't be able to connect, right? That's today, but I will bet you a steak dinner at the new Oak and Ember that when this is done and the 337 are done and the system is in place, we will have, 2 years from now, we will have a conversation with Sam Emerson. We say, what's it take to get beyond a 337? And
They'll hook up that person. I guarantee they'll hook up that person.
that's my point. I think you're getting hung up on the conversation you had in today, when this is a continuum. That's really my point from earlier, right? So,
Mr. Campbell?
Yeah, I'm not in favor of the motion as it is at this time. I could be. What I would like to do again is we've just voted to sign paperwork, making the progress move along with the DEP. So we're moving that train along. Thank God we started discussions with the county on the MOU 6 weeks ago, because now Bob's got a relationship with Don Donaldson. We don't want to alienate a partner this early on because we're with them, as the mayor says, in perpetuity. We want to have their thoughts in consideration when we make our decision. If we can get to 337, I would be willing to look at that, but I want one of these from Mariah, 2 of these.
I thought we were at 337.
Because, but the 337, if the county has its way, is going to require us to go to option 2 on the sewer plan, which is some gravity, which requires some mandatory special assessments. So we're trying to accomplish a multitude of things. We're trying to prevent special assessment, because that's what we had said, and the extra $10 million. We're trying to get our partners at the county to take what we're giving them, and we're trying to get as much money out of the DEP. So
I don't know
that's,
if we're doing all that. I think we're just installing all of this, the vacuum systems, the grinder systems that we can with the money we have. Now, what I heard you say, which I have a question about, is to get to the 337, it's not all grinders?
correct.
I want to correct you on that. We laid out a map, okay, and it's a blue map that we have that does get us the 337 connections with the grant money. We do meet the 330, we do get
With the
sewer.
vacuum
Okay,
system.
so there is an option that we can get 330 with grinders only and without a special assessment?
Correct.
Okay, so-
Yeah, we can get to, yes.
Okay, so was that in the plan that the consultant gave for us?
Yes, it's in the plan. I may have moved the lots around a little bit.
Is
but
that known as option 2 or option 3 or option 4?
It's actually option 1B.
Oh.
And with a combination, well, first of all, let me make sure. Option 2 showed you where low-pressure sewer mains can go. Those totaled 337, okay? So what it also showed you is where gravity would have to be placed if we decided to go with gravity. At this point, you're not going with the gravity option yet, unless you're forced to, but it does show you that you can get 337 lots connected with grinders.
That's my understanding.
And the approximate cost was 14 million or more?
It's 14 million, yes.
Vice Mayor Chris?
Yeah, once again, I'm going back to, I really would love to have Sam Emerson here to answer these questions, if that's possible. I think we get more answers and we can move forward with a lot more ease with,
It seems like knuckle dragging to me, or heel dragging, I'm sorry, or both.
It's just, I want to get more facts. The one thing I do know, and as I said before, we've lost some role right now, the way it looks like it's going with the state. And
Home rule is always under attack, by the way. We don't lose it or have it. It's a constant philosophy that we try to attain. It's not a give or take. On any given subject, we either have home rule or we don't. It's not a blanket statement that you're making.
well, the only other issue I have.
If what you're saying was true, we wouldn't have a dais.
Yeah, well, the other question I'm going to have, which I had for them, was once we do hit the 337 fill out and the state does mandate it, what happens if the funding's not available, if we have to put it in vacuum? Do the
Which is why you should do it
remaining
now.
homes have to go in and contribute to?
That's why you should not wait. You should make use of your $8.4 million while you have it, and don't drag it out so that you get mandated for this lack of mythical home rule that you're talking about. If they mandate it, you have to pay. So I'd say do it now while they're giving you the money to do it for free.
I think that's a key point. And at some point in time, they thought they were going to mandate it. And if you go back to the original list that we were 15th on, it'd still be a long time from now.
By the way, I don't think they'll ever do that, by the way, just so you know. Yeah.
Well, you could call it question then, because,
Well, I want to call the question that you're comfortable with. So I want you to reword the motion, but I don't want to wait for another 2 or 3 weeks to have somebody come in and give a whole dog and pony show. Because we know all the facts. But I want you to be comfortable.
well, I'm looking at the study that says option 2, which is 300,
Forget the study. Make the motion that you want to make. We can define what a new option that's not on that list.
so I guess well, we've got one motion on the table, but a motion that I might be willing to make if we could get through the mechanics with Glenn's Robert's rules is to
I will rescind my motion.
authorize the town manager and the mayor to sit down with utilities director and the county administrator and say that we're willing to do the 300, I would say 330, just to give you a little bit of breathing room with people that are one lot away, and then to come back to us with, what the costs would be. And if it doesn't require a mandatory special assessment and the county has no heartburn with it, then we move ahead with 330.
I like the parameters you're putting this, and I would go even farther and say within the parameters of an $8,000 hookup and get rid of the 12. So keep the price down, and
I think we've, unless I'm missing something, and Joe, you correct me if I go wrong here, we've already had those conversations with them
we have.
several times.
And now you're just letting the administration move forward with this conversation.
But there's a, with all due respect to the mayor, you've put out there publicly, if we have 330, they'll eventually help, do the other 370. That's now out there. I don't feel like that's a gracious way to enter a partnership. I'd like for them to know that, this is what we're willing to do, and are they on board? I mean, have we met with them and said, we're willing to do the 330 with grinders only?
337 is the number, yes.
Right.
And the answer is yes.
Okay.
We've had that
Can
conversation.
I add something if there's a moment?
Go ahead.
I thought I heard Joe say, because, what I'm hearing and what I understand is that we could move forward with 337 with county approval and cooperation with only grinders, and then reassess what to do at that point, whether it's move forward with more hookups with gravity, or which would maybe require, as you're saying, some assessments, or, because we're trying to figure out what to do with that leftover grant money. I thought I heard Joe say he had some ideas that maybe you could do a singular homeowners association or something with just gravity, and maybe use that grant money to give some people sewer and then some people would still stay on septic. I feel like did Joe say something like that? Like, as opposed to having to give those people above the 337 any kind of assessment, you could just give a smaller portion of people a gravity hookup where the grant would pay for it, and they'd have the same cost as the grinder people, and then other people would just stay on septic or something like that, which leads me to the point that we should reassess at a later date, and that there could be options, but currently we seem good with the 337. That's it.
That's my understanding.
And mine.
Mr. Simmons?
No, I was just going to say, I agree, and we don't, what I heard in addition to what Kaya just said is that there's a 5-year window here. We're not spending all the money today, we're just approving the staff to move forward with the 337. In context with what you said, James, that they're working intelligently with cooperative staff, and if they get a red flag on something, they're going to come back and say, hey, we've got a problem, and we're going to work.
Yeah, I mean, none of this is going to happen with the interlocal anyway, right? I mean, we're not hooking up to their pipe without an interlocal agreement.
I think we have one, don't we, for Northside?
Yeah, but this is,
Well, and you recall that when we passed this several months ago, it was based on, number one, getting grant funding, and number two, developing the MOU with the county.
That's true.
And they're still working on that, so obviously not going to go any further
Right.
ahead than.
right. Well, let's take a look at what Joe's got up, because maybe that will add some visual impact, because I do see there being some common ground that we might be able to push the 147 to 337, but I'm not willing to do it if it's costing an extra 10 million in mandatory assessment. So maybe something that you're showing us is going to assuage my concerns there.
Joe, I think the one we're looking for was on a zip drive that you had, that I gave back to you.
Is there anything else that we can maybe come back to on this, or this is it?
I can
This is
make
important enough
copies
to-
of that if you want, Joe. We can make it.
This, yeah, why don't you, if you don't mind making copies of this one, this one's a little bigger below, that one and this one. That's what I'm trying to point out to you. So we have exhibits, which you're going to get in a minute, that shows you can hook up, and they, at the time we did the original study, we thought that number was 300, okay? We since made some modifications where we got up to 337, and I will tell you where those areas are. They're basically up in the Delano area, because it would be very expensive to put gravity in that area, and we'd have to cut through some lots and everything. So, make a long story short, we got up to 337. We met the county utilities department, and they said, okay, well, that's close enough to 300, we're fine with 337. So the bottom line is, we have what was option 2, which showed 337 lots on grinder. The remainder lots would be on gravity, okay? So all I'm telling you is we're not going to hook up the gravity lines yet. We're just going to use the grant money we have for the 337 and use those and put low-pressure force mains there. That's what our plan is, okay? So it's not that we can't do it, we just aren't going to build the gravity mains, okay? And if you decide to go into an area, somebody may petition you. Let's give you an example. One of the subdivisions that has gravity lines that need to be rehabilitated may petition you and say, well, I see you got some extra money from the grant. Would you like to do our subdivision? Everybody wants to hook up. That's the decision you'll make. It's not that I'll make it, but that you could use some of that grant money for that. But that's a future decision. You don't have to make that now. All I'm trying to tell you is we have an option 1 that showed 300 connections in the original study. Now we've asked them to go to 337, and they've agreed to that. Now, that's staff level. We still have to go before them anyways for an interlocal agreement for sewers. We still have to get that agreement with them anyways. And so they're going to sign an agreement, they've told us, for 337. So we're going to get the MOU that you've asked for. They call it, we're going to get that. And I just want to let you know, this all has to happen in a sequence, because remember, we're spending grant money. I obviously have to, first of all, make sure the grant's in place, which is what Bob's doing tonight. Make sure the grant's in place. We'll get a contract back from the grant agencies, DEP, saying this is how they plan on spending the money. So they'll sign, we'll get that grant agreement in place, signed. Then, obviously, we go forward with the design, the construction, and obviously the completion of those lines. But I can't do any of that till I get the contracts in place so that you have money from the grant, right? That's one thing. I also have to have the county in line to say that they're going to have an interlocal agreement for sewers for South Sewalls Point. So what you see in front of you So do you have the orange, I'm going to call it orange or peach one? That's the one that was in the original study. It said option 1, low-pressure system grinders, and it said phase 300 connections, okay? So that's what we discussed in our original septic to sewer study presentation, okay? Up to 300. So all we're talking about here is we've made some minor modifications to this to include some areas where it's more convenient to extend grinders in those areas instead of gravities. And those
Is that
are,
what you call option 2?
and so then in option 2, which is the blue one, you see the blue one?
Yeah.
That one there is how we've expanded it. Now, that one is called option 2 because in that one, we were going to put grinders in the blue area, and then the white areas where eventually there would be gravity mains. Okay? That's what that reflects. So at this point, I'm not recommending we go into the gravity area yet. Just do the blue ones. which is 337 connections, I know it's hard to read the wording there, and that
So
can be,
would I say
That's
that
the one that you're referring to is option 2A.
that's right.
2A without the white?
Realizing, yes, we're not doing the white. That would be an area of gravity mains if we have to go that route.
Option 2A, blue only, James.
Okay, so picture's worth 1,000 words. I'll make a motion that we authorize the town manager to commit to the county manager that the town of Sewalls Point is willing to proceed with option known as 2A, as long as it results in no mandatory special assessments, and that we have an MOU before we begin construction and the execution of the contract.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mayor Tompeck,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Kurzman,
I can't do it because I wanted all 700 units to go to the grinders, otherwise it'd be catastrophic.
You don't have to explain.
Just saying,
Point of order, when you're doing this, you go through discussion, when you take the vote, you just say yes or no. You don't explain your vote.
Commissioner Campo,
Aye.
Commissioner Fender,
Absolutely.
Commissioner Mayfield.
Yes.
Thank you.
Was yours a no then? Was yours a no then?
I believe it was.
with an explanation.
Okay, so that brings us to commission and staff closing comments. Mr. Daniels?
Yes, I'm almost afraid to bring this up, but there is a county commission meeting that the county chairperson asked us to attend to address this issue on March the 21st, which is 7 days from today. Would you like for me to, A, cancel that meeting, B, go in front of them and explain the actions that you all have decided to take tonight, which is going with what the county administrator and the utilities director has recommended for us?
B.
It seems to me that it probably isn't the right time to have that meeting yet. Okay, I think there may come a time when we want to get back with them and talk about the number of total connections, since that's not in play here.
Why don't you just plant the seed? Like, communication's never a bad thing, and you could go there just as positive, thanking them for the support they've given so far. Tell them that we're agreeing with their current assessment. We've been given a significant amount of money, so they get the message that we, as a town, respect their position, and also that we have plans that are good for the environment, and that we love their support. I mean, they're not going to vote on anything. We're just communicating to them where we're at, and I think we just agreed to do what they said the limits were, right?
Okay, I mean, I don't have a problem with that.
I like that. It's goodwill.
Yeah.
Okay, then I will do that. On a good note, if you all have noticed the activity on A1A in front of the office buildings to our west, there is no longer any activity for a cell tower. And it is my understanding, that they have withdrawn their application with the state, and I haven't verified that part, but I have verified that the electrical permit that we have was withdrawn from the contractor. So all intents means that this is probably going to be a dead issue unless another carrier gets the state involved, but hopefully we'll be more involved the next time.
And why do they, you know why they changed their minds?
Nobody seems to know. I'm just happy that they decided to go elsewhere or do something else.
I'd like to ask about.
Mr. Fenton?
So that's interesting and good, I think. But I would like to add to that a cell tower there would be a good thing, not strictly for T-Mobile, but for all carriers, and in fact, a revenue generator for the town as well. So if they've identified a location, or maybe there's a more appropriate one for the town, I would be in favor of pursuit.
I think he's got enough on his plate.
Yeah. Maybe, but I'm just saying, if the opportunity is low-hanging fruit and comes forward, don't make it T-Mobile, make it everybody, and let's make some money at it.
Sounds good. And then moving forward, I do have a presentation for our town engineer. Joe, can I ask you to step up to the microphone, please? Joe has been our engineer for 31-plus years, and he has a little celebration going on this weekend. It's called his birthday, so I wanted to formally wish Joe a happy birthday. We couldn't afford a cake, Joe, you know, but
Yeah, that's very nice of you all.
there's a card from the commission and everyone. And then, and then we do have one other presentation. Chief, if you can stand up, please. Our chief, come on up. This is her 9th anniversary of being promoted or ordained into the position of chief of police. Right. So, again, we appreciate it. I'll tell you, you know, taking over in August without having these individuals here to assist and help, it's a team effort. I think I've stressed that when I've talked to you all individually. I don't want the credit when things go good. I'll take the blame when things go bad, but I have one hell of a team that works here, and our town attorney fits into that bill as well, but I don't have a cake for you, sorry. Thank you, Chief, for everything. And that's all I have, sir.
Anything from the commission? Mr. Campbell?
I just wanted to get a status on the sale of the lot on 7 Heritage. I know the tree's been cleaned up, and we've been doing some staging. The market's changing. I'd like to really capitalize on that sales proceeds. So can you bring us up to speed on that?
Sure. With the help of the town attorney, we did finally get the language organized for the deed restriction and, you know, the notification that we have to put forward. My hope was to have everything out this week. Unfortunately, I, you know, kind of ran out of time, but if I can get it out by the end of the week, or at least on Monday, I plan on putting the posting, the legal notice, and the ad that we can put it on the market. Kind of the game plan I'm following is, you know, again, it's transparency, so I don't want, you know, anybody to say, well, you know, the town manager knew that person and that's why they got it. It's going to be sealed bids for it. I am going to set a floor level of $600,000 on the property, and then let them go over whatever they want to go. I think it you know, we need to, you know, look at, you know, where we're at. I know the market changes and it's volatile, but that is a choice lot, and it's definitely has a lot of history involved in it. So they'll have 45 days to come forward with a bid, along with a deposit, and along with the idea that they are going to agree to the contractual agreement that we had to get in place before we could do all this. But, you know, I will, you know, send a copy of all that documentation as soon as we post it to each member of the commission. But thank you for the opportunity to give that update.
Vice Mayor Kurzman?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the other property in town, it's the one that's waterfront. Is it possible we could get that up on the market with the knowledge that there's going to be a retention pond and an outfall on the property, but at least put it on the market, while the market's still very good in this area? Maybe we could put it up to like 2.5 million, something in that area, or 2 million, something in between. But if we could do that, we could recoup money and we won't be paying our loan as long.
Well, my suggestion, I'm sorry, but my suggestion would be, if that's what you all would like to do, we, you know, I think it takes a vote of the commission. I think we need to be transparent and making sure that everybody knows that that's going to be on an agenda in the future, and go from there. I didn't want to take away what you wanted to say. I apologize.
No, I was just going to ask the town engineer whether we were going to use that lot for staging, construction. Do you think that's going to be a useful purpose to have open houses and realtors and, I mean?
Yeah, I think it would be better if we, I mean, I don't have a problem with the advertising, but I don't think you want people there, because we are going to be using that lot for staging, like you mentioned. There's a lot of pipe that's going on this project, a lot of structures. Obviously, they're going to want to use some of the land for storage of water while they build it. I just, I don't think, in my mind, it's a construction site. I really don't think you want to have the public there during.
Yeah, I would like to remind you that we want to get top dollar for that after you're done. So, as they say in the campsite, leave it in better condition that you found it.
I agree with you there, and we do need to work on that, because as I look at the retention area is going to look nice and planted very well, but, we actually added, since the neighbors mentioned to us, there are some nice palm trees in the back that can be transplanted in certain areas to kind of buffer the front also. So there are things we're thinking about, but I certainly would welcome any comments anybody has, because you're right, we want to get top dollar for the project property.
Okay, I just have one quick question that had to do with have you gotten all the evaluation sheets, performance evaluation sheets back from the commissioners?
I'm waiting for one.
Okay,
Oh, I owe you that. It's me. The one is me.
okay, well, we weren't trying to,
You should not harass me.
okay, and as soon as you can go.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Kai, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Nope, I'm good. Thanks for letting me call in. I appreciate being a part of it.
Okay. Any other comments, Mr. Torsivi?
No, other than, I think you're all aware that Mr. Daniels and I did speak with the resident about the petition, and, also spoke to the supervisor elections, but as I said, I don't think it's our role to advise them on how to draft their petition and the language they should have. Our suggestion was you should hire the appropriate professional to help them. But we did have a couple of courteous conversations with them.
We're not doing anything to obstruct them, are we, from the town?
No.
Right, okay.
Any other comments? If not, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner.